Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter. If you guys been following me on Twitter, you probably already know, but I recently built, well, more like assembled, my own first gaming PC. No expense was spared. I killed my wallet and my bank account and I went all in to make the ultimate gaming machine, at least for me. This is what it looks like on the outside, absolutely nothing to write home about. I really didn't care about displaying it or making it flashy on the inside to look at, so I went for something that was a little bit more functional. This is the inside. You can see it's got a ton of room if I ever wanted to get into having like a water cooling system with like a reservoir. There's my GTX 1080 and my traditional fan cooling unit. At the end of this video I will be sharing a link and I'll have it in the description down below, but I am going to be giving away, thanks to Kingston for hooking me up with the unit, but an extra pair of HyperX Cloud 2 headphones. These things are amazing. You can detach the microphone part, you don't have to have it on, so you can use these things as just normal headphones. I use them with my 3DS when I'm playing Monster Hunter, and on the computer for games that support it, it's at 7.1 digital surround sound. It's like being in a movie theater. Just the best way I can do to describe it. Anyways, I'm really happy that they gave me a unit to give away to one of you guys because it works on all gaming consoles. I mean, it's a headphone, so I think you guys will really enjoy it. The number one question you make a computer though is, can it do Crysis? It can do Crysis.
Heads up, Prophet. Cell reinforcements en route.
Security lockdown.
And another game which I've shown off on my channel before is the Rise of the Tomb Raider. This game is just amazing. Like, it's just cinematic. Like, I just feel like this is a new level of gaming that I've never experienced before. The amount of graphic fidelity, the gameplay is great, the sound is amazing, especially on those headphones. So yeah, I mean, PS4 is great, and it's got the IP, but like graphics like these, I can't wait to play Nier on this thing. And of course it plays Overwatch very nicely as well. Now the cool thing is because the monitor supports up to like 140 frames per second, if you have a very beefy graphics card that can push it, you can actually see every one of those frames. If your computer only has 60 Hz or your monitor, you're not going to see more than 60 frames per second anyways. It's one of those things that I didn't really realize was a big thing, but it is. So let's go into making the PC, so to say. So if you guys don't know it, if you're going to make a PC, there's a site called PC Part Picker. I can't imagine making a PC before this site existed. You literally can go and just choose all the different parts that you need. The site will tell you if you're missing a core component of the computer, if anything's incompatible with another part that you've already chosen. And you just choose a part, you can see everything like reviews and why they're good, what they are. And then you can just add them to your dream build and you can just sort of play around and assemble a computer. It'll tell you up above if anything's incompatible, it'll tell you how much wattage the unit will use, and more. Now if you're going to assemble a computer, the parts that you absolutely need is a case, obviously, a chipset, which is also called a motherboard, a CPU, and also you have to buy a cooler for it. They do not come with coolers, at least the ones that I know of. It's optional. If you have onboard graphics on your CPU, you don't need it, but if you want a gaming machine, you're probably going to want to buy a dedicated graphics processing unit, so a GPU. You're going to need RAM so that you can run programs and do stuff at the same time, and a power supply unit, also called the PSU, as well as an OS, of course, to run the thing. As long as you've got this checklist, these are the parts that you absolutely need. So when it came into casing, I really wanted something that was like soundproof, because one gripe I have about the PlayStation 4 is it sounds like a freaking jet. Like, it's so loud. I went for Fractal design because it has a very minimalistic design, so it's very compatible for water cooling, air cooling, doing stuff with it later. The cables all go in the back, the chips go in the front, so it's very clean. And one of the great things is that it has really state-of-the-art soundproofing materials that they use to lock in the unit. So it's very customizable, but also very quiet. It's also a modern case, so it assumes that you're going to mount SSDs and also are not going to have an optical drive. Honestly, chipset was tough because there's just so many out there. I didn't want to spend like $300, and I didn't want something that was cheap and not durable and didn't have expansion slots, so I went with the ASUS Z170A. This was compatible with the processor that I knew I already wanted, which was the top of the line Intel i7 processor, because I'm a big fan of Intel. But this board just looked really nice, which I suppose doesn't really matter since I'm not having a build that I'm showing off the insides of the computer, but it did come with some of the stuff that I thought in the near future I would want, like a USB-C port, USB 3.1s, plenty of slots for expansion. It does not have Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, so you would have to add those on, or you get a chipset that has those if you care about them. But I wanted to use this with a wired connection, so I went for something with the Intel Gigabit LAN, which just makes the wired connection that much more stable and fast. And it's got stuff like M.2, which is a type of drive technology that's really fast, and other goodies that I liked as well. Now, I can't say I'm not a fan of the other types, but I am a huge fan of Intel processors, probably because I'm also a Mac user. But anyways, I knew I wanted the Intel, so I went for the i7-6700K. Now, I'm not overclocking now, but I might in the future, which is what the K enables. It's not that much more expensive, so I felt that it was just worth it to get the unlocked model, just in case I want to use that in the future. It sports a massive 4 GHz single core and total of 4 cores. And again, the type of processor tells you what type of socket that you need, so make sure that your processor and the chipset are compatible. Now, I did buy a case that has plenty of room and lots of different bells and whistles for water cooling, but I didn't want to just jump into water cooling. I still feel that it's a little bit beyond me, and I don't really think I'm pushing my computer yet to a point where it would really give me benefits over traditional cooling. So I went with the Cooler Master Hyper 212X. This was just something I found on PC Part Picker. It seems that this is just one of the type of fans that everybody loves. So I gotta trust the community, they know what they're talking about. So I went for the Cooler Master. It was a little tough to put in, but I imagine that's the case with every fan. And it does come with its own thermal paste, so you don't have to buy anything, so that's good. But I'm pretty happy with it. It keeps the unit really cool, but also very quiet. Okay, for RAM, which of course I'm sure you know what RAM is, I wanted to get something that was really fast but also power efficient. So I went with the Corsair DDR4-3200, which is the fastest type supported by my current board, and I guess it's great. I mean, I haven't really compared it to anything else, but I mean, everything runs super zippy fast, everything seems really in good shape, and they weren't that expensive, and Corsair comes highly recommended by a lot of people in the community. Now, once you go SSD, you can never go back to hard drives, and one of the things that I wanted to do for my computer was to get rid of as many moving parts as I could, because I prefer not to have them. So I went for the Samsung 850 EVO. This is a really popular choice because it's only like $150 depending on where you live, and I was able to get 500 gigabytes, and it's just really good cost, reliable, but also very good speed-wise. You get about 550 read and write megabytes per second. However, I always knew that I wanted my system to be on a PCIe based SSD because that's what Macs use. And let me just tell you, like, going from HDD to SDD is a religious experience. It's like a whole new world has been opened up. But going from a good SSD to a really good SSD is mind-boggling as well. And the PCIe is those slots that usually the graphics card uses. And the reason is because those have faster memory bandwidth than, let's say, the traditional SATA drives. So these PCIe based flash drives can achieve some breaknecking speed. Now, this drive is the one PC part that I did not buy out of my own money. This was given to me very kindly by HyperX because they were talking to me about how much I loved my headphones, and they said, hey, do you want to give one away? And I said, of course. And they also gave me this as sort of like a sample to try out. No strings attached. I didn't have to talk about it, say anything about it, but I really love it, so I do want to say some stuff about it. Now, because this isn't a SATA drive, this is a M.2, or it comes in this nice little PCIe kind of insert slot, which goes where your graphics card would go. These things can access memory speeds well beyond what the normal SSDs can. This thing goes over a gigabyte when it comes to read and write speed. We're talking like the latest, like iMac, top of the line, flash. That's how fast it is. These things are great. I'm super impressed. Wait till you see how fast it is to just copy a file. So like, this is a 1.6 gigabyte file, boom, copied. Like, I'm not joking, this thing is ridiculous. It also boots programs really fast as well. This is probably a combination of both the drive and also the RAM and everything else about the system, but everything just boots like insanely fast. I could not be happier. This is me just booting Overwatch, so of course there's, I have to connect to the server and everything, but like, You can see here, like, there's just no real loading time. It's just, you're at the mercy of the programs. Now, the one area I personally believe that you should not pinch your pennies is on the power supply unit. Think about it. You're going to be powering supply to all your parts. The more stable the electric flow is, the better it's going to be for the durability of your parts. You don't want to have, wasted energy, so you want something that's super efficient. So I went for the Corsair RM650X. Now, one of the things I really like about this is that it's fully modular, which means that all the cables that you might use in your computer are all plug and pull, which means if there's a cable to this unit that you're not using, you don't have to have it in your case. Now, granted, of course, it doesn't really hurt to have extra cables just tucked away in your case, but for someone like me, I don't want a monster like this on my computer, and I just don't like seeing all the cables running around like that. Also, the most important thing for me was power efficiency, and this is a rated gold type of battery, and what that means is that depending on the type of load, it's going to be exhibiting really high efficiency, so not wasted energy. This is what you get for gold, and it's just crazy. Go ahead and do the research though, make sure that you understand bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, and choose the one that is good for your wallet, but try not to pinch any pennies. And of course, the showcase piece of my computer is the graphics processing unit, which is the GTX 1080 Founders Edition. The reason why I went with this, and this is expensive, we're talking like $800 to $1,000 depending on where you live, the price of a small entry-level computer. The reason why I went for this is I wanted to experience gaming with no compromises, and I mean literally. I can go onto something like Witcher 3, Overwatch, turn everything to epic settings to enjoy it at the best thing that developers have created, and I could still get over 60 frames per second, which is not something you can say for consoles, of course, because they don't cost even a fraction of what this graphics card costs. Now, the 1080 is going to be really great for 1440p, or I guess you could say 2K gaming. It's going to be more than sufficient for 4K gaming as well. However, if you're expecting like really high FPS, maybe you might need two of them. But the 1080 is a fabulous card, and it's definitely good for VR if that's something you want to get into. They do have a 1070 and I believe even a 1060 and a 1050, so if you're going for a graphics card, I do like the Nvidia. I know AMD also makes nice cards, but I definitely like this one. Now, if you are getting a monitor specifically for a gaming PC, there are two technologies that work with certain types of graphics cards. If you're using AMD, you want something that has FreeSync technology, and if you're doing an Nvidia card like me, you want something that has G-Sync. Now, it is debatable whether or not it makes a huge difference or not, because it does add a few $100s to the price of the monitor, but it does completely get rid of image tearing and other stuff. It really helps with the processing, and overall I found it to be a much smoother experience. So I went with the ASUS PG279Q. This is a 27-inch monitor. It's IPS, and IPS, for those of you who know, is much better screen technology than some of the cheaper alternatives. Just really great color, expression, and clarity. I really like it. It's 1440p, which is awesome. Like 1440p at 27 inches looks like a 4K TV to me. It's sitting here on my desk right next to my 5K iMac, and I tell you, when I'm gaming, I don't really feel a difference. Like, it's crisp, it's beautiful, and it's not as taxing on your graphics card as 4K is, not even close. So I definitely recommend you to look into a 1440p monitor if you're looking into getting into a gaming computer, but you're not crazy about having to go all the way up to 4K. And while I really can't see a difference after 120 frames per second, this thing can handle up to 165. Now, I'll be honest, you'll never be able to really see the difference unless you go to a store, because if the monitor you're doing to watch this video, or if you're on YouTube, only supports up to 60 Hz refresh rate, you're never going to see higher than 60 frames per second, whether your graphics card can handle it or not. So if you want to get into true gaming computer and you want to experience something that's even higher, again, I can totally see the difference between 120 frames per second and 60, and you got a good graphics card, I highly recommend that you go for a gaming monitor that supports up to 140 Hz refresh rate. And that's pretty much it. I feel really bad that this video sounds like a big advertisement for all these parts, but honestly, I'm really happy with them. I bought them. I'm not sponsored by these companies. The computer I built myself without, anybody telling me what to do, but I really like it. I mean, all these parts have come together to be really solid. Of course, my build is not a budget build. Like, it costs quite a lot of money, so If you have the money, then maybe you can use this as research. If not, then go ahead and find whatever else you want. The beauty of building a computer is that it's totally malleable to your budget and your needs. So depending on what you want to do with your computer, your setup's going to be different from mine, and depending on your wallet, you may want to pinch on something now and then upgrade it later and stuff like that. Now I have a link in the description below, but the good folks at Kingston and HyperX heard how much I love my Cloud 2 HyperX gaming headset, and they asked me, hey, would you like one to give away to one of your viewers because it's a gaming headset and maybe they would like it? And I said, absolutely. Now I know that the international shipping costs, and I'm going to bear that, to ship it to the winner is going to cost me like half the price of the actual headset itself because the package is quite big. I definitely think it's great that I'm able to give back to you guys with something that it's maybe not Monster Hunter themed, but you could certainly play this with Monster Hunter or any other game, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So anyways, the contest is totally free. You'll get an entry just for following me on my channel, and you'll also get an entry for watching this video. So I hope you guys enter, and I wish you all good luck. And until next time, happy PC part hunting.